So what exactly is there to play for with the remaining games the Spurs have on their schedule?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs. We're doing the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you all back. Hope you're having a great Wednesday and happy hump day, everybody. As always, we like to thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen every single day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts. iTunes, Spotify, Ken 5 Plus, have YouTube. Locked On Spurs newsletter. Click on that description below on the YouTube side of things. It says there, LO Spurs newsletter link. Click on that. Completely free. Sign up today. What are we talking about today? Well, we're going to be looking at the last remaining games. A little like 19, 20 games left. And that's it. Season's going to be done in the blink of an eye. So with playoffs pretty much out of the question, I guess playing is still attainable. But with the way the Spurs are going, everybody else, they're helping themselves. What exactly is there to play for? What is the point? Is there any real point to these last few games? We're going to be discussing that. And I can't believe I'm going to say this. Preview tonight's Spurs Mavericks game in the sense that, they lost to a freaking undermanned Mavericks team a couple days ago. Yeah, we're going to discuss all that and more with our guest. Going to bring him on. He is Rudy Campos of Sweep the League, making his second appearance here this week on Locked On Spurs, filling in for the absent Mike Jimenez, who's I am going to bag on him so bad soon. It's going to be relentless soon. He bailed on me, man. I can't believe. Anyway, you know what? Par for the course, I guess. But anyway, that's for a whole other show. We can't wait to get Jimenez back on so we can just give him the business. But nevertheless, Rudy Campos is with Sweep the League. Follow him on X at Sweep the League. I'll tell you one thing that's not pointless. It's never pointless to have Rudy Campos on. Rudy, how you doing?
I'm good, Jeff, man. No worries about me coming on and filling in like I normally do. I'm used to Locked On, man. I should just get on the payroll like I've always
I know, right? Yeah, exactly. You got to put you on the payroll. Again, he is with Sweep the League. Make sure to check out his show, Sweep the League, on YouTube. You'll have his opportunity to talk about it and more later on this show. So, Rudy, again, thank you again. I appreciate you. We're going to talk about the loss to Dallas a couple of days ago in a few minutes, but, the Spurs aren't helping themselves right now. You lose to an undermanned, that's embarrassing, undermanned Mavericks team at home. Mm-hmm. You lose to Sacramento. You got smoked by Minnesota in the fourth period. There's nothing. I mean, the Spurs are not helping themselves whatsoever. And yes, Rudy, I get it. The play-in is still within reach. They're not completely out of it. So there's that. But I started thinking here, Rudy, what's the point of these last games? What's the freaking point? They're not gonna be up in the top 3 slots of the NBA draft lottery. I think no matter how it works out, I think the most maybe 8 they can probably get, lowest maybe 12, 13. So there's that. You're the guest, so we'll let you go first here. Really help me out here, man. Take me off the ledge here. Is there anything to play for in these remaining games for the Silver and Black?
I think the biggest umbrella, which it might be a part of what you're going to talk about on your end as well, is just evaluations. That's all it is. The simple word of evaluation, because it goes all the way from coaching staff down to the 12, 13, 14, 15 guy on the roster. You're right. I mean, you're essentially right. The season's pretty much done. I mean, you've got mathematically a chance to get into a playing spot, but just by the way they've been playing, your absence of Victor Wembanyama, it just kind of feels like the season's done and has been done for a little while. So you're doing evaluations now. You're trying to see which players are going to be around for the long haul. You already know you've got your building pieces in Victor, De'Aaron, as well as Stephon Castle. Is Keldon Johnson going to stick around to be, that 6th man off the bench? Can Devin Vassell accept the bench role if needed? Is he going to be maybe that 4th or 5th option that you're looking at for the Spurs? Also, the fact of the matter remains, too, is can you bring in another piece? Kevin Durant obviously being rumored. There's other guys out there, other players that you can go out and get. So, for me, the biggest one is just evaluating, but most importantly, evaluating the coaching staff. That's the massively big one right there, because there's no news coming out of whether Pop wants to come back for another year. There's no news if they are fully behind Mitch Johnson. So that's the biggest one for me, because I think it falls back on coaching more than it does the player.
Right. Yeah, yeah, and touch on a few things here. You brought up, start off with the coaching. Yeah, that I think that is the big one right there. Yeah, Mitch, he's gonna have to finish the season strong. Yeah, we talked about him likely being a candidate for replacement. Well, the next head coach, but at the rate he's going, it's not looking good. Like you mentioned, loses to the undermanned Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah.
But I guess Minnesota wasn't terrible. They were in it with them for at least 3 quarters until the wheels came off in that fourth. So there's that. But at the same time, you don't have Wemby out there. You lose to Dallas without Sohan and Wemby, two of your better defensive players. He's like, okay, Mitch, understand. But nevertheless, yeah, I think that's probably the biggest one there for me, even above the players' evaluation, because I think the player evaluations, we already know that Castle is going to be a stud. We know that. Mm-hmm. We know that Keldon is already Keldon. That's who he is. And by the way, shout out to him. I mean, he's really been playing great this end of the last this stretch run here.
Yeah.
And you look at Devin. Devin perhaps is the one that you're keeping an eye on. He did have a good game versus Brooklyn. Of course, that was Brooklyn, 37 points. And then he did have 24 points versus the Mavericks. Depleted Mavericks. Yeah, thank you. So, he's playing better. How about that? He's playing better basketball of late. So there's that as well. But also with him, though, is it too little, too late? Like, where was this throughout the rest of the season? But I get that. And I think the number one thing for me is just the coaching, where we're going to go with this. Can Mitch rally the troops? I would love for Mitch to finish and the team to finish strong, kind of like what they did last year. And my goodness, Rudy, doesn't it feel like last season? It feels exactly like I don't feel any different. Look, I was on Media Row a couple nights ago for the first game against Dallas. And let me tell you, the chatter among us media members on the aisle there, where it was that even the media guys are checked out already. They're already checked out of the season. They're like, well, what are we even doing here? One media guy literally came in, sat next to me, tells me, oh, they're going to lose. The jump ball hasn't even started yet. They're just out there warming up. And I'm looking at him like, come on. I mean, at that time, the Mavericks only got 8-9 guys. That's it. Spurs, we're good. We're gold. And he just kind of rolled his eyes at me. Halftime, he left. To the workroom. He goes, I'm done. This team is done. And they were winning at halftime. And he knew it. He called it. He says, yeah, the team was cooked. And they got cooked. Not a good look. But sure, I get it. Player evaluation and mainly coaching staff and Mitch Johnson, it's got to be the top of priority. But Rudy, I was going to ask you, though, again, we're going to try to save most of this for the preview of tonight's game. But the way they lost to Dallas, how big of a hit was that for Mitch Johnson? Is it really all him, knowing that even the Spurs were depleted? No Wemby, no Bassi, no Sohan. I mean, do you kind of give him a pass or not?
Man, I'm going to say no. I mean, if you look at the talent compared to what the Spurs have, even though they had a couple of guys out, the talent compared to what Dallas has should have been enough to get a victory if you're really looking at it on paper, and it wasn't. So, again, as I was on recently of Lockdown a couple of days ago with you, I said no more passes for Mitch, and that's kind of the way you've got to look at the rest of the season. I mean, yeah, Pop went down, for medical issues, and he's out for the year. You were okay. Mitch is getting his feet wet. I think we've seen a lot more coaching mishaps to say, okay, enough's enough. There's no more free passes. That you've already had almost an entire 3/4 of the season to coach the team. So, no more passes for it. But at the end of the day, I kind of don't know if it's going to agree with a lot of people, but it shows that even on paper, the most talented team of the two is still not the best team in the end.
Yeah. I mean, I think that loss to Dallas a couple of days ago was more revealing for what the Spurs did. I know a lot of fans, especially the Mavericks fans, saying, "Oh, the Mavericks were playing with a bunch of heart," and they were. And so that's kind of a reflection of the Spurs team. And look, Mitch Johnson, he played for. Yeah, they got something to play for. Yeah,
they're still in the play-in or play-on or play-in scenario.
Yeah, and also too, Mitch recently, and you saw it, called out the team, the Spurs. He said that they're soft, and I guess he wasn't far off because, man, they did look soft versus Dallas. All right. So Rudy gave us 2 picks right there. He said player evaluation and coaching staff, mainly Mitch Johnson. What do I think? What do I think there's left to play for in these last few games? Right here on Locked On Spurs with Rudy Campos of Sweep the League. Follow him on X at Sweep the League. You make sure to do that immediately. But first, I want to talk to you about Wayfair.
Your home should reflect your style, and with Wayfair, it's easier than ever to make that happen. Whether you're looking for a simple refresh or tackling a big home project, Wayfair has everything you need in one place. Wayfair's huge selection makes it easy to find the perfect piece, no matter your space or budget. From cozy furniture, stylish decor, to kitchen essentials and outdoor must-haves, Wayfair has it all, and at prices that fit your budget. Finding the perfect piece. I was looking for a new rug, tied to my living room. Well, I went to Wayfair, and they had so many stylish options at great prices. What about easy shopping and delivery? The site made it simple to compare styles, and my order arrived fast with free delivery. Look, it's more than just furniture. I was surprised to find everything from storage solutions to patio decor, making it my go-to for all things home. Look, you want to go to wayfair.com right now. Find something that's just your style today. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you're going to get any money back. And then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. Now Taxes is matching with an TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible, file every form, every investment, and everything with 100% accuracy. Or you can get that money back, the most money back, guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now, this is Taxes. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live full service, real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantee.
Hey, this is Chris Sabat, and you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with our 6th man of the year. You already locked that trophy up, by the way. You locked it up. There's no need to finish the remaining games of the Locked On Spurs season. It's yours. We're going to just give it to you early. How's that, Rudy?
I'm excited to know that I'm getting the Locked On 6th Man of the Year. I'm hoping I get my gold jacket for Locked On Hall of Fame.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, kind of like what they do in golf. Like they get the green jacket. Yeah, I did the gold jacket there.
I wonder what color the Locked On Hall of Fame jackets are.
You know what? That's a good question. I'll let you pick. You can have the color scheme of Optimus Prime,
okay,
or the color scheme of Starscream, or a Soundwave.
Soundwave.
Yeah, I knew it. Maybe you get to agree. I knew it. All right. Well, why is Rudy here? Well, we're talking about what's the point? What is there to play for in the last few games of the Spurs season? Now, in the first segment, Rudy, he's our guest. He goes first, right? So he picked player evaluations and coaching staff. And I totally agree with him, especially on the coaching staff side. That's a big, big thing you want to watch out. But for me, it kind of ties into what you talk about player evaluations, but more specifically, Steph Castle. He coming out of the All-Star break, man, he got smacked face first into that rookie wall, and he really, really got smacked up. But he shook out of it, and he's back to Steph Castle. Now, against Dallas a couple nights ago, didn't have the best of games. I think he finished with, 14 points. Nevertheless, he is just a rookie, and you just want him seeing his trajectory going skyward, and it is. But also, for him, I just want him to lock up that Rookie of the Year. I think it's all but locked up at this point. I just want him to put a bow on it, put the icing on top of that ice cream, the cherry on top, that star on top of the Christmas tree, because Vegas, although they have him as the favorite, he's not quite the overwhelming favorite. So I like to see a little push towards that. And that's really good to play for. It'll be good for him, his confidence, a silver lining in an otherwise down season. And, to have back-to-back Rookie of the Year winners, I mean, that's just a testament to the Spurs. Sure, Wemby was a no-brainer. But in a draft, Rudy, that was considered diluted. I mean, you go back. I think if you go back and look at last year's draft, Castle goes number one, right? There's no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I was always saying he's the best prospect, my number one prospect in that draft, and it shows why he's the number one prospect. Great talent, both plays both sides of the ball. Very, very athletic. Makes a lot of sense to be the number one pick in that draft. But yeah, I mean, obviously the best prospect, best talent in that draft, hands it down.
Yeah, and what he's doing this year is just amazing. Double figure scoring. Perhaps one of the more consistent Spurs of late. Also, too, it's safe to say, Rudy, he plays with a lot more heart than many of those guys on the roster. I mean, just the toughness, the tenacity, the chip on the shoulder. He has it all, and he's only going to go skyward at the rate that he's going. And also, too, I want the Spurs to maximize the minutes available for him to close out the season, not just for the award, but just for him to just get NBA experience before the season's all but over and they go off and do their own thing. So I love to see that. But I got a question for you. You think he'll play in the summer league this summer, or you think the Spurs say, "Nah, you're good"?
No, I don't think he needs to go play in the summer league. It's kind of maybe a personal choice if he wants to, but I don't really see him playing in the summer league this coming summer for the Spurs at all.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But I mean, anything maybe a game or a half. Because they pull those stunts a lot of NBA teams do. They'll just do a quarter and you're done for the rest of the league. But I think he solidified himself as a foundational piece. This rebuild, him and Wemby are going to be working well moving forward. So for sure, for me, is to maximize the time left with NBA games on NBA hardwood before the season's over for Steph Castle in order to secure the Rookie of the Year, but for his development. Another thing I'm watching for is De'Aaron Fox. Two things. He finishes out these last games, Rudy, great, wonderful. Keep on being De'Aaron Fox, get used to your new team, your new club, and look forward to next season. But Rudy, what about keeping an eye on this? Not necessarily what to play for. I guess in a sense, yes, you're playing for next season at this point. So Rudy, do you think it's time for the Spurs to shut him down? There's, his words himself said that he's going to get evaluated for his finger next week when they go visit the Lakers. So they're going to go to the LA doctors there. Do you think for Fox, he should be playing for next season, shut it down, get that finger worked on?
I 100% agree with that. I mean, the quicker you can get surgery on a finger that you already know needs surgery, the quicker you can recover and get back into the gym and start working out with the Spurs. And, of course, hopefully, Victor does come back from what he's got going on. But I wouldn't doubt if he does shut it down to get the surgery early. I mean, I think what they're truly waiting for is they're truly waiting to see if they have any way of getting into the play-in by chance. Like I said, mathematically, they are not eliminated. But I think if they lose a few more games, they may just shut him down and already just kind of, put on the gone fishing sign for the Spurs, because it makes more sense. The quicker you get surgery, the quicker you can recover. And again, if you have complications, you've got that extra time to recover. So it makes a lot of sense to do that.
Yeah. And again, if the topic here is what is there to play for? Well, for Fox, it's obviously the long term, and that is next season. And you can see that possibly the finger is bothering him. He hasn't been shooting the ball the way we know De'Aaron Fox can, as we saw in Sacramento. He even said it himself recently. He said, he goes, I haven't had just a bad night shooting. I've had two weeks of bad shooting. So you got to wonder if that finger is already starting to bother him, like it's catching up to him, throwing off his shot. And part of me thinks that is true. Obviously there's the adjustment period coming from Sacramento, 7 years there, or however long he was, to San Antonio. And there's that. But I think it'd be best for everybody, Fox, the Spurs, moving forward, just to shut him down next week. At that point, Rudy, I don't know if we have to revisit this topic, but you shut down Fox. Is it like times two? What is there really, really, really there to play for? Because at that point, we think the season's over right now. It's like double over, isn't it?
Pretty much. I mean, I'm again, I hate to beat a dead horse. I didn't expect much from the team this season going in. So I'm sorry, the people that may not think, well, he doesn't really care. He's not a person. I'm not that. I just didn't expect a whole lot. But if you shut Fox down right now, I mean, you're pretty much already just caving into any chance you had, to get into a play-in. But it's okay. I mean, the thing is that the 2025 offseason was where they had all this money. They have all the possibilities. They've got a great draft class coming in. This is when Spurs fans should really be excited. So getting shut down for this year, it's okay. You saw improvement. I don't care if it's 1 game, 2 games, 7 game, 10 game. You saw improvement. And then the biggest improvement that you saw throughout the season was the ability to make that deal. Brian Wright making the deal to bring in a future running mate with Victor Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox. So you've already got the pieces in place. It's just getting everybody together, staying healthy, and running with what you have. So I'm okay with them. If they shut him down and it's like, well, now it's really over. That's okay. I mean, that's perfectly fine for me. It's just getting to the off season to see what they're going to do next. And again, it goes from coaching staff. And you mentioned earlier, Mitch called the team soft. I wanted to ask you on that because when he called them soft, normally teams come out and play a little bit more harder, show a little bit more heart. I didn't see that. So it makes me question whether these guys actually buy into Mitch anymore. Yeah, that kind of is a scary thing because on a team with some very good veterans, that's concerning for me. That's something to really keep an eye on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't, from what I can tell, being in that conference room and going to the locker room, it doesn't feel like they tuned out Mitch. I don't feel that at all. I just think Mitch was, in my opinion, given a bad set of cards, just abruptly going from assistant coach to interim head coach just in the blink of an eye. Sure, Pop, he had Pop there to lean on, but you lose Wemby. He has injuries to several players throughout the time there, and Castle runs into the rookie wall, trying to get things going. So I think there's just a lot on his plate. I don't think they tuned him out really based on what I can sense. They always speak high of him, telling him, praising him. And of course, that's what they're going to say. They're not going to bag on him publicly. But from what I can tell, I don't think they tuned him out. But that's definitely a good point, though. That's definitely a good point to see what the Spurs do moving forward, that coach's spot. All right, there you have it. Those are my 2 picks. The continued development and securing that award for Castle and De'Aaron Fox in the sense of playing for next season, time to shut him down. And I do agree with you, Rudy. I think go for it. I mean, Rudy, I guess technically they're still in it for the play-in. They're getting some help, though. They're not helping themselves, but they're getting help. Phoenix is losing. Dallas, they're going through the bad season they're going through. Would you be shocked if they somehow snuck in that last spot?
I'd be very shocked if they did. I would be flabbergasted if they were to get into a play-in spot. But
I know
anything is possible in the NBA.
I think they may just trip into it. Yeah, I could see something like that. They just trip into it because Dallas is free falling. Well, I don't know. They play the Spurs more often, maybe not. But Dallas at this point is free falling. Phoenix can't get it together. The Spurs are not helping themselves by losing, but you never know. You look at the Spurs schedule, and they got a good amount of soft teams or sub 500 teams, the Hornets, Sixers, etc. But they also got teams against some heavy hitters. Rudy, they still got to play the Cavs 2 more times.
Falter against the sub 500 teams. That's the concerning part,
right? So, God, they would just luck into it. I think that's how it would fall apart. But hey, I think I would take it if I'm the Spurs. All right. Those are our thoughts on what the bleep are we still playing for. So you can let Rudy know on X at Sweet the League. Let me know on X at Jeff Q Spurs Zone, and subscribe to Locked On Spurs or get your favorite podcast. All right, we're going to look at tonight's game, Spurs Mavericks Part 2. Can the Spurs rebound from that embarrassing loss to Dallas? We'll talk about that and more right here on Locked On Spurs. But first, I want to talk to you about Skims.
When I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I was intrigued. I've heard so much about their quality from friends and family, so I didn't even try. And let me tell you, it lives up to the hype. I've always had issues with underwear, fit, comfort, or just finding the right style for me. Skims changed all of that. Their men's line offers something for everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. I tried the Skims. Well, they got the 5-inch, the stretch 5 boxer brief, and let me tell you, those come in handy. As you know, I work out a lot, nearly 5 days a week. Can't tell you, these stretch 5 boxer briefs, yeah, I'd never liked anything else but them since I've been working out with them at well. They give me all the movement I need for working out, plus without feeling like I'm walking around wearing gym clothes the rest of the day. Plus, they never lose their shape or ride up, and maybe it's just my head, but I swear, since I started wearing these, my gains have improved too. You want to go to skims.com/LockedOnNBA right now, and then go to the Skims store. So shop Skims Men once again at skims.com/LockedOnNBA. And let me tell you, you let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menus that follows.
I am Megatron. Do not fail me and subscribe to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Rudy Campos of Sweep the League. Follow him on X at Sweep the League. Rudy, we got to talk about tonight's game. Spurs Mavericks Part 2. Let's rewind the clock here and look back. Spurs are coming off I can't believe I'm saying this, 133-129 home loss to the depleted Dallas Mavericks. They only had about 8 guys in uniform. My goodness. First of all, defense. They had no defense in that final frame. They played somewhat good defense to start the game, but in that final frame, it just fell apart. I think Dallas scored 41 points in the third. They outscored them in the fourth. Defense was at the top of the list from what Keldon Johnson had to say. He said, quote, "I feel initially we showed great presence on defense, but as Dallas, moved the ball, I feel they were a little bit a step ahead. I feel defensively, we got to be locked in all together." So at least for Keldon, he felt defense just fell apart versus Dallas. This is a team, Dallas, that the Spurs on paper should win. But Dallas proved they had a little bit more heart. They, like you mentioned earlier, they have something to play for. They're still hanging on to that final play-in spot. So there's that. You have to think tonight, Rudy, the Spurs got to come out with some fire. But the question is, can they sustain that for 4 periods, Rudy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually going to take, and it's rare that I do it, but I'm actually going to take the Spurs to win against the Mavs. And I think they were going to split regardless. I think they got to keep the same intensity as they started off with. And again, it came at the very end of the game. Dallas pulled away. It just seemed like it was well-balanced attack for Dallas. I mean, they had great ball movement, and the Spurs just kind of faltered. You got to play 4 quarters, and it's weird. It's whether it's 2024, 2025, or back in 2012 and 2013. A lot of Spurs teams don't tend to play all 4 quarters, and that's something that happens every single year. But I agree with Keldon. I mean, you've got to play defense. You've got to show up and play an entire game, not just spurts, not just a great first half and a subpar third quarter and then a terrible fourth quarter. It's got to be 4 quarters worth of play. I expect them to win, but at this point in the season, Jeff, I have no idea, man. I mean, we get a great Spurs team. They're up 32-10 after the first quarter, and then I can blink my eye and it's a tied game at 66 all of a sudden. So I have no idea. But I mean, they just got to play all 4 quarters. That's got to be the drum banging right there, is just all 4 quarters.
Now, they let Klay Thompson erupt for 26 points, man. 26 points in that loss. Not good, not good. For me, it's not only just the defense, but come out and play. You should have Sohan back. I don't have the injury report as of this recording, but Sohan should be back. So there's that. There's a little help on defense. Oof. I don't know. You're going to ask me who's going to win tonight? I don't know. I don't trust this team. Can they just... I know. You look at what Mitch Johnson said. He goes, quote, "I thought the effort and intention was there for the most part. I thought sometimes we got a little outside of ourselves in terms of some inappropriate fouls early on. He continues to say they were putting just immense pressure on the paint. So they being Dallas. So it's a little mixed bag of everything. They got to be connecting their shots. They can't let up on defense. I think if they just play a modicum of defense for 4 quarters, they should win. Even if it's a close one, they should win. So I'm hoping the Spurs will get the W. I'm going to go with Rudy. I think the Spurs get a win. But, historically, no matter where the Spurs are in the standings or injury reports, and same thing for the Mavericks, standings, injury report, that I think the stat is something like 16 out of the last 20 or 19 games between Mavericks and Spurs have always come down to the wire.
Yeah.
Always come down to the wire. So these teams really love playing against one another. All right. There you have it, our quick preview of tonight's game, Spurs Mavericks. Hopefully the Spurs can get a W and get the home crowd a reason to cheer. Rudy, all right, let's talk about you. Sweep the league. What is going on with your show?
Yeah, so sweep. We're getting really into NFL free agency from this past weekend. It's getting crazy on the NFL market. Also, we're gonna dive into a couple of NBA guys from the 90s and 80s this week as well. So be sure to join on that. If it's not myself and Derek Irvin, it's gonna be myself and somebody on the week. We might have a special guest this week as well. But yeah, I mean, just talking sports in general, man. I mean, we just talked everything sports, and all you gotta do is go to YouTube, search Sweep the League TV, hit subscribe so you can be a part of the conversation. We come to you Tuesday through Friday right now, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time.
There you have it. Follow Rudy on X at Sweep the League. Do that right now. And as always, we thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Freely available wherever you get podcasts. We'll be back tomorrow talking all things silver and black as the Spurs season is starting to wind down. Don't forget to subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast. iTunes, Spotify, Kim's 5 Plus app, YouTube. The list goes on and on. Subscribe to the Locked On Spurs newsletter. Free and available right now. If you're on YouTube, or just go to YouTube, click on the description on this show or any other past show. There's a link there that says LO Spurs newsletter. Click on that. Sign up today. So for Rudy Campos, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.